Welcome back to Jamyy, English. I'm Jayz.
And I'm Amy. This week we have been telling our stories: hometown, childhood, family. Today we arrive at a topic that takes up a third of most people's waking hours.
Work?
What you do, why you do it, what it actually feels like from the inside.
What do you do is one of the most common questions in English conversation, and one of the trickiest to answer well.
Because the honest answer is usually more complicated than a job title.
You could say, I'm a teacher, and technically be correct. Or you could say, what teaching actually feels like, what it costs you, what it gives you back.
That second version creates a real conversation.
Today we give you the language for both, the professional version and the human version.
Let's start with the basics. How do you answer, what do you do?
The simple version, I'm an ELL teacher. I work with adult learners at a language school in San Diego. Clear, complete, and it answers the question.
The expanded version, I'm a freelance graphic designer. I mostly work with small businesses and småtuks. It's very varied work, which I love. No 2 weeks are the same.
Notice the addition, no 2 weeks are the same. One phrase and it adds personality. It tells the listener not just what Amy does, but how she feels about it.
That is the move. After stating your job, add one honest sentence about what it is actually like.
Useful versions of that sentence. It sounds more glamorous than it is, but I genuinely enjoy it. It is challenging, but I cannot imagine doing anything else. Honestly, it is not what I expected, but it suits me. It is the kind of work that follows you home, which is both a blessing and a problem.
All of those are human. They signal that you are a thoughtful person, not just a title.
Now let's talk about how to describe what you actually do at work, because job titles are often confusing, especially across cultures.
If someone does not know what a graphic designer does, saying, I'm a graphic designer, tells them almost nothing.
So you add context. I create visual content for businesses. Things like logos, marketing materials, website design. Basically, anything a company needs to look a certain way. That is my job.
Basically is a great word for simplifying a complicated explanation. Basically, I help companies communicate visually.
Other useful phrases for explaining your job. In simple terms, I blank. The main part of my job is blank. A lot of what I do involves blank. On a typical day, I blank.
That last one is particularly useful. Describing a typical day makes an abstract job concrete.
My typical day as a teacher, I usually start by reviewing the lesson plan, and then I have 3 or 4 classes back to back. Between classes, I check in with students who are struggling. After school, there is always paperwork and planning, and then the inevitable email from a parent that takes far too long to answer.
That last detail is very specific and very real. It makes you laugh a little because it is recognizable.
Specificity creates connection.
My typical day as a designer, I start with client emails because something is always urgent. Then I move into creative work, which I try to protect in big blocks of time because switching tasks constantly distractive. I have calls with clients, review feedback, revise things, and spend more time than I expected explaining why a logo does not need to be blue just because blue is the company's favorite color.
That last line is extremely relatable to anyone who has ever dealt with clients.
And it shows personality without trying to.
Now let's talk about how to discuss your career path, how you got to where you are.
I've always known I wanted to be blank, is one version, the straight line career.
But most people's careers are not straight lines.
I started out in blank and kind of fell into blank. I changed careers in my late 20s, and I have not looked back. I studied blank but ended up doing something completely different.
All of those are honest and extremely common. Career pivots are a normal part of working life now.
I studied communications at university. I thought I might work in journalism or public relations. Then I discovered that I was much better at the visual side of communication than the written side. Design found me more than I found it.
Design found me more than I found it. That is a lovely phrase and a very natural way to describe an unexpected path. I knew I wanted to work with people and with language. From early on, I considered going into translation or journalism. Teaching was actually not my first choice. I took a temporary teaching position after university to make money while I figured things out.
It was always the right fit. There is something satisfying about arriving at that conclusion.
Phrases for talking about career path? I kind of fell into it. I knew from the start. It took me a while to find my direction. I changed course, and it was the best decision I ever made. I am still figuring it out, which is okay.
That last one is honest and increasingly accepted. Not everyone has a clear career narrative, and that is fine.
Now let's talk about the emotional side of work. What your job actually feels like.
This is something many people avoid in professional conversation, but it is what makes conversation real.
What do you love about your work? What do you find difficult? What keeps you going on hard days?
What I love about design. I love the moment when a project finally clicks, when all the elements come together and something that was just an idea becomes something real, that a person can hold or look at. That feeling never gets old.
What I love about teaching. The moment when a student understands something that was blocking them and you can see it on their face. Not pride exactly, more like relief, like something that felt impossible is now possible.
Both of those are specific and personal, and both of them explain why someone does this work even when it is hard.
What is difficult about teaching? The administrative side, the paperwork, the reporting, the system that sometimes feels more focused on metrics than on actual learning, and the emotional weight of caring about students' progress and feeling helpless when the circumstances outside the classroom are working against them.
What is difficult about freelance design? The instability. Some months are busy, some are slow. You are responsible for your own income, your own health coverage, your own retirement planning. That freedom comes with a cost.
These honest answers make you interesting to talk to. They show that you have thought about your own life.
Useful phrases for the emotional side of work. What I love most about my job is blank. The hardest part is blank. What keeps me going is blank. On a good day, it feels like blank. On a hard day, it feels like blank.
That last structure is powerful because it holds both realities at once.
Now let's talk about work-life balance, because this comes up constantly in conversations about work.
Different cultures have very different norms around this topic. Hours, availability, outside work, vacation, the relationship between professional and personal identity.
In many professional contexts in East Asia, long hours are normalized and even expected as a sign of commitment. In many European countries, firm boundaries between work and personal time are the norm and are respected.
There is no correct approach, but knowing how to talk about your own relationship with work-life balance is useful in cross-cultural conversation.
I work a lot, but I try to protect my personal time. I make a point of not checking messages after a certain hour. In my industry, the culture is quite intense. I am working on finding a better balance. I am lucky that my workplace really respects personal time.
All of those are honest without being judgmental toward other approaches.
And they invite the other person to share their own relationship with work.
Let's also cover the topic of ambition. What are your professional goals?
This is a common question in professional settings and also in casual conversation.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Is the classic version. But in real conversation, it is usually less formal than that.
Someone might ask, do you want to keep doing this long term? Or, do you have bigger plans?
Useful answers. Long term, I would love to blank. My goal is eventually to blank. For now, I am focused on blank, and then we will see. I try not to plan too far ahead. I would rather respond to what actually presents itself.
That last one is honest and increasingly common. Not everyone has a 5-year plan, and that is a real thing to say.
Let's review today's vocabulary for describing your job. In simple terms, I blank. The main part of my job is blank. On a typical day, I blank. No 2 weeks are the same.
For career path, I kind of fell into it. I knew from the start. I changed course and never looked back. It took me a while to find my direction.
For the emotional side of work, what I love most is blank. The hardest part is blank. On a good day, it feels like blank. What keeps me going is blank.
For work-life balance, I try to protect my personal time. I am working on finding a better balance. I make a point of not checking messages after a certain hour.
And for professional goals, long term, I would love to blank. For now, I am focused on blank. I try to respond to what presents itself.
What you do for work is one part of who you are. Talking about it honestly and with some depth makes any conversation better.
The goal is not to impress. The goal is to connect.
Tell someone what your work actually feels like today in English.
Thank you for listening. We will see you tomorrow.
Take good care.
Let's also talk about something that comes up when you work across cultures: professional communication styles.
The way people communicate at work varies enormously depending on cultural background and industry norms.
In some professional environments, direct feedback is expected and valued. You say exactly what you think. This does not work. Here is why. Here is what I suggest instead.
In other environments, feedback is delivered more indirectly. This is very interesting. Perhaps we could also consider blank. The criticism is embedded in a softer frame.
Neither is wrong, but misreading the style can create real problems.
Being aware of this is a professional skill, and being able to talk about it is useful.
In my workplace, the culture is quite direct. We are used to honest feedback even when it is critical. Or, I come from a context where things are communicated more indirectly. I am still learning to read between the lines here.
Both of those show self-awareness, which is valued in any professional setting.
Let's also talk about how to describe your workplace itself, the environment, the culture, the kind of people you work with.
It is a small team, about 15 people. Very clear. Everyone knows everyone's business, which is both a good thing and occasionally exhausting.
I work mostly independently from home. I set my own schedule, which I love, but the isolation is real. You have to be intentional about staying connected.
My office is large and quite corporate. Very structured, very process-driven. It takes some getting used to if you come from a smaller environment.
All of those describe a workplace with honesty and texture. They are not complaints, they are observations.
And that distinction matters. You are describing, not venting.
One final area, talking about difficult experiences at work. Not everyone has had a smooth professional path.
Job loss, a toxic environment, a project that failed, a manager who made your life difficult.
These things happen and they are part of real professional experience.
You do not have to share the details in casual conversation, but if the topic comes up naturally, having language for it is useful.
I went through a difficult period at work a few years ago. It taught me a lot about what I actually need in a professional environment: honest, forward-looking, and complete.
I left a job that was not healthy for me. It was the right decision, even though it was not an easy one. No blame, no bitterness, just truth.
I had a project fail in a very public way. That experience changed how I approach risk now. Framing difficulty as learning is both genuine and professional.
These phrases protect you while still being honest. You say something real without making the other person feel they have pried open something difficult.
And they show that you have some perspective on your own life, which is always attractive in conversation.
Work is where many of us spend most of our days. Talking about it with honesty, warmth, and some self-awareness is one of the most valuable conversational skills you can develop in English.
Tell your work story today.
We will see you tomorrow.